stay alive in a knife fight is to have an impeccable defense. One of your primary methods of defense in a knife fight is going to be your footwork. First thing that I want to draw to your attention is the replacement step that we talked about earlier. It's really important that you're practiced in this replacement step. You come into your fighting knife stance, you're on guard, you sense your opponent's going to attack your front leg, you pull it back, and you come back on guard. You withdraw it, touchdown, and come back on guard. Withdraw it, touchdown, and come back on guard. We showed earlier how you train this with your training partner. Don't neglect this type of practice, because this motion will take you out of trouble all the time. You're going to use it a lot more than you can possibly imagine. So you need to do this thousands, I mean literally thousands of times until you're super comfortable with it. The next footwork technique that you're going to use defensively a lot is the single step retreat. You're going to be on guard, your opponent's going to encroach your space, and you're going to give ground, and you're going to take that ground back. So it's just a simple push off, take a step back, and a lot of times you recapture that space. So you push off and come back. Push off and come right back. Push off and then come right back. Single step retreat. The next footwork technique that you're going to use a lot defensively is the multiple step retreat. What often happens is you'll be moving around with your opponent from side to side, and he's going to dance rapidly on you. You're going to have to give ground sometimes. Just a single step, he'll overrun you. So what you need to do is you need to retreat rapidly. So you're going to have to get good at going backwards very quickly. Now, as you come backwards, don't neglect, as you come down, to squirt out to the side. Because if you keep going backwards for a long time, he's going to overrun you. But you definitely need to be very skilled at moving backwards quickly and coming down on guard, ready to fight. Those are the three primary methods of footwork you're going to use constantly as you spar and knife fight. Our long-range knife fighting method stresses from our on-guard fighting stance, making our opponent come through our knife before he can reach our body. Because of this, our knife hand is his primary target. He wants to cut our knife hand and disable it before he comes to his body, to our body. The same token, as he comes to our body, we can destroy him with that knife that's in the way. So learning to avoid cuts and stabs with your knife hand is of paramount importance, and I'm going to show you a number of different ways that you can do that. The first of these is called the basic U. I'm going to have Felix come out here, and I'm going to illustrate that. As Felix cuts at my knife hand, he's going to cut diagonally across my knife hand. I'm going to drop in a U-shaped pattern underneath it. When he backhands, I'm going to U again. So what I'm doing is this. I'll look into the camera so you can see. I'm just dropping my hand like this, and I'm making a U. When he cuts here, drop my hand and come this way. This is called the basic U. So whenever anybody cuts at your hand, you can U, 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 just like that. Forehand, you come this way. Backhand, you go the other way. So forehand, you're kind of meeting. You're dropping, as it comes by, you're coming up, popping on the other side. You're popping up on the other side, you're popping up on the other side, just like that. To drill this, get with your training partner. One person is going to be the target. He's going to cut slowly at your knife hand. You wait till it, don't anticipate it. If you anticipate it and just try to time it, you're not going to learn anything. Watch it and move. Practice that drill, back and forth, changing off, so that you get used to moving your hand out of the way when you sense it's being attacked. That's one way to avoid a cut at your knife hand. Here's another one. When your knife hand's being attacked, simply fold it back like this. You're here on guard. Your knife hand's moving around. You sense that cut's coming here, just fold it back. Fold it back and let your thumb just hit onto your abdomen or chest right here. Fold back and come right back. Fold back and come on guard. Fold back and come on guard. Let's get a little bit more room here. Felix attacks my hand. I fold back and come right in. We're going to show this in detail a little later so you can really see how this works in full motion and full speed. But right now we're going to go slow. Fold back, fold back, fold back, fold back. Another way that you can avoid attacks at your knife hand is you can raise your knife hand. He cuts at your knife hand, raise and drop on him. Raise and drop on him. Raise and drop on him. Here's where that number 12 angle, straight down, is really important. As your opponent crosses his center line, he's exposing his forearm here, and when he crosses this way, he's exposing the center of his body. This 12th strike often hits your opponent, so it's really useful to use. You raise and drop, raise and drop, raise and drop, raise and drop. That's another way. You need to practice that a lot. Another way you can avoid attacks at your knife hand is drop underneath it. Drop, stab up. Drop, stab up. Drop, stab up. Drop, stab up. As you sense him coming at your hand, drop underneath it and stab up. Sometimes you get the elbow. Sometimes you get the upper arm. Sometimes you get the shoulder. Sometimes you get the face. Sometimes you get the thigh as he passes by. So you vary your defenses. You don't use a basic view every time. You'll soon clue to that. You don't use a raise and drop or fold back. You vary your defenses all the time. Sometimes he attacks your knife hand. I'm just going to circle. Sometimes I'll circle to my left to avoid it. Sometimes I'll circle to my right. The circling allows you to enter or to retreat. You can circle out, you can circle in. It's very versatile. You mix these up. You put these in your repertoire of responses to attacks at your knife hand. Now I'm going to briefly demonstrate how you can use the motions I've just taught to defend against attacks on your knife hand. Felix is just going to attack my knife hand as well. Those are just a few of the ways that you can use your knife hand and avoid attacks on it. You can fold back, you can raise, you can lower, you can use the basic view, you can circle, either way. Another way to avoid cuts and stabs at your knife hand is to keep your knife hand in a continuous, evasive pattern. When we take our on guard or basic fighting stance, you see the point is pointed at your opponent's face. We've got our live hand and we've got our elbows in, our knees are slightly bent, and our heels up. We're all springing. But in reality, when you're actually fighting, this knife hand isn't going to be still. It's going to be moving. It should never be still. We only take this posture for training. As you learn to spar and to fight, this knife hand is going to be constantly moving inside our window of motion. One of the ways to avoid cuts at your knife hand is to make continuous circles. You can circle right, you can circle left. You circle or you use an avoidance pattern until your opponent keys on it. You're going to see his face look at you in a way that says, I know what he's doing. Watch his face. As soon as you think he's keyed on your avoidance pattern, switch it. If you're circling to your right, circle to your left. If he's starting to key on your circles, switch again. Maybe you want to move your knife hand diagonally, up and down. As soon as he keys on that, switch and go diagonally the other way. Maybe you want to cut an L or a letter out of the alphabet. Maybe you want to cut an A. Maybe you want to cut a Z. Keep that Z going right in here. The main thing is you keep your hand moving in different patterns. As soon as he keys to one pattern or gets clued in on that, switch to another one. There's lots of patterns. Maybe you're going to move your knife hand slightly from side to side like this. As soon as he gets this down and he thinks he's zoned in on this, Change it again. Maybe go back to circles. Come up and down. Maybe raise it. Constantly keep it in motion. Change the position of your knife hand. It may be here on high line, switch to a low. If it's on a low, come back up to a high. Constantly change the position and the movement of your knife so he can't get a fix on it. Another way to do this is to change the range or distance that your knife is from your opponent. You can have your knife out here fully extended as bait. You can bring it halfway in or all the way in. Constantly changing the range. He doesn't know where your knife hand's going to be. So extend it, come halfway back, all the way back, halfway out, all the way extended. Look at it from this side. I come all the way out, halfway back, all the way out, all the way back, halfway out, all the way back, all the way out. So he doesn't know exactly where your knife hand is going to be. Not only is it changing its position, it's changing its distance constantly. Those are really good avoidance methods to use to keep from being cut or stabbed on your knife hand. To illustrate what I just said about avoidance patterns, I'm going to have Felix attack my knife hand. And all I'm going to do to avoid his attacks is to use avoidance patterns. Just like that. One of the ways to actively use your fighting knife for your own defense is with the stop hit. A stop hit means that we're going to intercept our opponent's attack with a faster attack of our own. For instance, I'm going to slowly illustrate this. If Felix cuts number one, and I see that, I'm going to intercept his attack with a stab to his face. The stab to his face is going to stop the forward motion as his head rocks back and he goes backward. He won't be able to continue that motion, especially if I stab him in the mouth or I stab him in the eye. That's going to rock his world. He won't be able to complete his attack. That's what a stop hit is. Anytime you see your opponent start to cut you, you can stop hit him. You can stop hit sometimes his shoulder. Let's turn so the camera can see that a little bit better. If I can't reach his face, maybe I stop hit his shoulder. If I can't reach his shoulder, maybe I stop hit his elbow. If I intercept his arm before he can land that stroke on me, I intercept him with my own faster, more direct attack. That's a stop hit. Let's turn again so everyone can see. Let's try that again. Stop hit, backhand now. You can stop it here with the elbow, right here. So you got you straightening him and going on. With a real knife though, and not one of these trainers, that elbow would be destroyed. I'd stick the point right in there and cut all that off right there. I can stop that on the shoulder right here and stick my blade right through there. I can stop it in the corner of his face. There's lots of options that I can stop his forward motion with a faster, more direct motion. This is another reason why I want you to become experts with the point. Because when you use the point to stop it, you keep your opponent further away. If I try to use a slashing attack, I have to get closer. But with the point, I can keep him even further away and give myself a greater margin of safety. Now I'm going to show you how you can practice using the stop hit at home to defend yourself. I'm going to have Felix take off his fencing mask. And while he's doing that, I want to remind you, when you're practicing, this is not the time for screwing around. You are not sparring, no horseplay, no frivolity. This is serious, what we're doing here. When you're training like this, you've got your training partner's eyes in your hands. So you need to be careful and all times and be serious and sober about what you're doing, okay? One of the ways that you can practice the stop hit is you stand in front of your training partner, and when he cuts these 12 angles of attack that we just learned, you learn to intercept that. You can intercept it here on his hand. You can intercept it on his forearm. You can intercept it on his elbow. You can intercept it on his thumb. You learn to intercept those attacks with the point of your fighting knife. Okay? Now, you can't all of the time just stand still like I am. Sometimes you're going to need to move to the side. You're going to need to practice the footwork that I showed you. have to move to this side. Maybe I have to move diagonally here. Now, see how I can come back? Get that fighting knife in front of me. I was here, and I had to adjust and get my knife back in front of me. This is why the footwork is so important. You can't sit here like a statue and defend yourself. You have to move. You have to use body mechanics. You have to use angleization. You just can't stand with your feet planted like a tree and defend yourself. You need to practice this. So practice this slowly, practice this safely. Sometimes when you're fighting, you won't have enough warning of your opponent's attack. You won't see it coming fast enough or soon enough to get in a stop hit. But you still want to interdict that incoming weapon hand and disable it. To do that, you may want to attack it with slashes and cuts. One of the ways to practice this is to cut the 12 angles of attack and to countercut this. I'm going to show what I mean. If Felix cuts number 1, I want to cut his arm. Right here, disable it. Let's switch positions so they can see. I take my trainer and I cut across here, and I want to pull through at a diagonal angle and cut these tendons and stuff that control the opening and closing of this hand. So when I cut these, they pop open and this knife comes out. Now, as we showed earlier, if you have a full-size cold steel fighting knife and you put in even a moderate cut across that inside of that forearm, this arm is destroyed. That's your goal. So when you see that, you may cut back. Quite often, for safety's sake, I'll come back out. When I see that come in, I'll cut here, and I'll get way out of range as fast as I can. In case for some reason that interdicting cut wasn't effective and I didn't disable his hand, I want to be out of the way. So you need to practice cutting whatever comes at you. Again, you can't stand here like a stone and just do this. Just cut a pattern. I can't just do this. Just go give me all the angles. Come on, that's your. I'm not going to just stand here like that. You can't practice like that. I get away with it a little bit here on the video because I've had tens and tens and tens of thousands of attacks and I'm used to the angles. But as you're starting out, definitely you can't do that. You need to move. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice with your training partner. Let's switch places here, Felix. I want your training partner to slowly cut the 12 angles of attack. And you're going to cut. See how I'm moving? I'm not standing here in front of that. Just like that. You need to move your body. Get the best angle you can to position your blade on that incoming attack. You need to practice this and practice this and practice this. It's a little harder on your arm. Be careful of your opponent's face. Whenever possible, I prefer to use a stop hit or a counter slash to defend against an incoming knife attack. But sometimes there just isn't enough notice to employ these defensive methods. So you have to block with your blade. It's not my preferred way to defend, but it's still useful, and it has some advantages and some drawbacks that I want you to make you aware of. If I'm out of position and Felix cuts and I just block, let's switch around so the camera can see. I just stick my blade up here and he runs into it. That's blocking with the knife. If he backhands, I block. If he stabs, I block. Sometimes that's all you can do. You don't have even enough time to slash it and get out of the way. You're just kind of stuck there, so you have to block. You don't have a choice. The good thing is, if you've got a full-size razor-sharp fighting knife, that's not going to be too good for him to run into that. When he cuts and you block on his wrist like that, he's got a good chance his momentum is going to bring him really deeply into your edge of your blade and cut his fingers off. When you land here, that's not going to be good on his forearm. If you're using a 16-ounce Trailmaster Bowie knife and his forearm runs into 16 ounces of solid steel, that's not good. But here's the disadvantage of blocking. When I hit his arm, I'm not pulling through. So I don't know if I'm disabling that arm or not. I don't know if I'm getting an effective cut in. intercepted his motion and stopped it dead, he can immediately pull back and cut me. I don't know, when I blocked this, whether or not I destroyed this arm or not. I've intercepted it, I've stopped it dead, and he might have run into the edge, but may not have done enough damage because it hit straight on to stop this arm. So he's in a position where he can just cut and continue his stroke. So that's the disadvantage of blocking. But sometimes you have to use it and take the chance because it's better than having the stroke land. So sometimes you have to block. Now when you block, sometimes you can use this alive hand that we talked about earlier to move him out of the way quickly before he gets a chance to cut you. You can give him a push. Or you could pass him to the other side like that and clear him out of the way and help yourself with your block. But blocking can be useful, but you also have to be aware that the person can continue their motion because you may not have destroyed their hand. When you can, you want to intercept with a stop hit or a counter slash, an intercepting slash or a cut that destroys that arm. One of the best ways to deal with thrusting attacks is with a simple parry. Parry means you basically just redirect your opponent's thrust out of the way. Just push it offline so it doesn't hit you. We often use the parry against attacks at our face, particularly straight thrusts at our face. Whenever you're practicing this at home, I want you to use a fencing mask because of the danger to your eyes. I'm going to do it without a fencing mask just this one time so that I can talk as I give the instruction. And I have thousands of hours practicing this parry. When Felix comes on guard and stabs at my face, I'm going to push that offline. Stab at my face, directly at my face. Now, my preferred thing to do is to cut his hand, if I can. I want to get my edge on his hand as I slip to the side and cut that. So I'm going to move myself out of the line when he's attacking, and I'm going to cut that hand and destroy it, if I can. Sometimes it's so fast that I can't reach the hand, and I have to parry on his blade. If he catches me flat-footed and unawares, if I go to his hand and he's so close, the blade's already hit me. So you have to be aware, if you can, you cut or parry on his hand. The best thing is to cut it, just push it aside. Sometimes you can't do that, and you have to go to the blade because there isn't enough time. So, come again. I just move his blade aside. If I'm flat-footed and he parries, or thrust, come again. I just move it aside. Now you can come right here and kill him right instantly off that parry if you need to. So it gives you a big opening, and you just don't have to move it very far, and you've taken it right there. It's instant quick kill. Parry is very useful. You can use it against lower lines. If he attacks lower, I can parry that way. I can parry and redirect that way. I prefer, though, and I want you to try whenever you can to cut that hand. Don't just be content to pushing it or moving it out of the way slightly. Destroy it so he can't come again with it. But you need to practice this parry. I want to show you another little trick that we use in our method. When someone is threatening you with a stabbing attack, you want to give a slight horizontal motion like this. Hold your knife up vertically and move it just about 2 or 3 inches to each side. This will allow you to intercept his stabbing attack in the least amount of time. If your hand is still and not moving very much, you'll never pick it up in time. Your hand needs to be in motion. Even if my hand's over here, when he goes, I'll still get it. Constantly, slightly in motion. That'll help you a lot. When you feel someone's loading up to stab you, you can make that motion as you change your position. Don't stand here. You don't have to stand there and let him stab you. Change. He's not the boss of you. Move. Okay? That's how you use the parry to protect yourself. Earlier I alluded to the various ways that you may be able to use your live hand in a knife fight. Now I'm going to start demonstrating how you use your live hand defensively. We talked about stop hitting earlier. You can stop hit with your knife and you can stop hit with your live hand. Sometimes your knife is simply out of position and you can't get it in play, and you see the opponent start to cut you, and you intercept his motion with your own. Cut number one, I might intercept his motion with my own, with a charging left cross to the face. My knife may be out of position, that's all I can do. I might have to intercept his motion with a strike to his shoulder girdle right here. Let's turn so they can see. I'm here, and I might get right in here, shock that and knock it back. I'll intercept that. It might be against his palm coming in. As he cuts, I may use a palm strike right against his palm, the incoming knife hand, and stop hit it, knock it away, just like that. So you can use your non-knife hand, your live hand, to stop hit. You can stop hit the face, or the shoulder, or the arm. A lot of times the shoulder, one and again, I can rock him back just like that with my live hand. Sometimes I'm too late. If I reach for this, the knife's cut me. If I reach for the face, the knife's cut me. I have to go to the forearm, cut again, and stop hit, or I may have to go to his actual hand and stop hit, because there isn't enough time to go deeper and rock him better. So that's one use of the live hand. You can also use a stop hit to stop attacks at your lower lines, like your midsection or groin. If my knife's out of position, Felix thrusts at my body, I can stop it here. Notice I bend my knees. I want to slam my palm into his hand and push it back towards his hip. This hip over here. I want to momentarily pin that and stop that forward motion. If he's close, I can't stop hit here. He's already stuck the knife in me. I want you to be really aware of that you just can't always just reach for his wrist or reach for his forearm for a stop hit. Sometimes you may actually have to go to the blade itself, because if you don't, it'll be too late and you'll already be stabbed. But whenever possible, when you're stop hitting, especially on the low line, you want to push the incoming knife hand down and back in towards the opponent, always towards his back hip, and that will stop his forward motion. Another way to use the live hand that I'm particularly fond of when I'm fighting is to use it to beat the opponent's knife hand out of the way. And to illustrate this, I'm going to have Felix come around here and turn around, come on guard. Now, you just don't reach out and beat the guy's knife hand out of the way. You have to set this up. But you're moving around, and I may threaten him with my knife from different angles. And I don't want him to have any idea that I'm going to use this, because I'm going to use this hand to occupy space so that I can close the distance more safely to take him out. Now, there's two ways that you can beat the hand out of the way. You can beat it from the outside. Let's split. Let's turn around again so they can see. I can knock the hand this way with my live hand. From here, I can reach out and knock it out of the way. Or I can reach out and pull it down. Two ways. I'm only doing it for a split second so I can bridge the gap and get in my own strike. Okay, let's turn around. Felix comes on guard, and I may move. I'll do that. I'll knock this off the line, and I'll take it right there in the face. Or I'll be here, and I'll stab him just like that.